Next question comes from Nick Tells Stories. Hi, Tad. I've been following your free stuff on YouTube for a while and your approach to marketing. Quick question. In your opinion, what's the ideal relationship to have with peers and competitors operating in the same space? I love this question. Obviously, there are hubs in the space too. Is the goal to form collaborative relationships with everyone? Or is it more ethical to acknowledge the real competitive tension and stay at arm's length? Man, that's a very real question. I admire that. Okay, so Nick tells stories. I don't know anything about you if you're a storyteller or not, but I sort of maybe get the sense. Okay, right. How do we relate to our peers? I've done a number of videos of on this. I've got a playlist. I'm pretty sure on competition. Let me just see if that's actually true. Um, because I think Nick has laid out the tension very well. On one level, it's one love, baby. There's lots to go around, plenty of fish in the sea, so no problem. We're happy to share. On the other level, we got to pay the rent, and somebody else might take your gigs. That's a real thing. You want a gig, and somebody else got the spot. So, yes, I do. If you go to my playlists, I do have um, a playlist on competition. If you can't find it, just message me and let me know. So those are two real tensions. Here's what I would say though, generally. Competition exists primarily between people who have fuzzy niches. Meaning, I'm a yoga teacher, you're a yoga teacher, and so we're fighting over all the same yoga students. And there is a limited pie of yoga students. There are only so many. That's a real thing. You could make a list of their emails of the students who come most often to yoga classes in a town, and it's not 10 trillion people. So there's that, small pie of yoga students. And if I'm a yoga teacher and you're a yoga teacher, we're looking at that same pie and thinking, well, if I get a slice for me, that's less for you, and vice versa. And we try to smile and we try to be courteous and generous with each other, but underlying it, there's this real scarcity. It's not a fake scarcity, it's for real. There's only so many students. And if you operate within that framework, that's how you're going to feel. Is this constant tear, push and pull, bring your clients, colleagues in closer or push them away. But that's only if you don't have a niche. If your niche is you're a generic yoga teacher like everyone else. But what you could also do is you could find a niche. So, I think you probably are a storyteller, but let's focus for a second on yoga. You could focus on a very specific niche in yoga. So you could do. There's a woman, Kat, on Vancouver Island who does yoga for scoliosis. That's a very specific niche. You might do yoga for anger issues, and that could be your whole focus. You just focus on yoga for anger. You could focus on yoga for trauma recovery. Now you see that changes the game because I'm no longer limited to this pie of yoga students. In fact, a lot of those won't be a good fit for me. Now I have a chance to make more pie. I can expand the pie. I can make a whole other pie of yoga students. That's just my pie. And I don't have to worry about competing with them. We only worry about competing when we reduce ourselves to a commodity of being just another storyteller, just another yoga teacher, just another coach. Once you know what your niche is, suddenly all your other colleagues who have other niches become resources. And the ones who are just generic storytellers, they do the storytelling thing that everyone else does. You're not going to know even how to refer to them. Referring business. How do I send you business? Because, well, I'll do anything. I'll do any gig. I do all kinds of stories. But if let's say you have a list of 20 colleagues who you're thinking about most when you ask this question, the thing I would do is get on Zoom with them, or if you can't, go for dinner with them and just say, look, what's your specialty? What kind of gigs do you want? What are the stories you're most passionate about? There's a woman, I've got so many books on storytelling, but there was a woman, I got brought in to work with storytellers. Scottish Storytelling Center brought me in. Woman Janet Dowling was on the call. She wrote a whole book about folk tales about the stars and astronomy. So she has a set of hubs that have nothing to do with the storytelling world. All the astronomy clubs, all the astrology clubs, all the I don't know, people who sell telescopes, you get the sense there's a lot of other places that Janet can be getting business that other storytellers it wouldn't be a fit for. So if you're a storyteller, number one, do you have a niche? Do you have a thing that you do? And if you don't, that's something to think about. And for everyone, here's a simple little exercise you can do to start to think about your niche. If you're doing something like yoga, storytelling, coaching, and there's just a lot of competition, make a list of all the scenes and communities you're a part of that mean something to you. So I did this on a call with these storytellers, and there was a whole list. I'm part of the LGBTQ community. I'm a part of the rewilding primitive skills community. I'm a part of the somatic healing community. I'm a part of the vegetarian community. I'm a part of the carnivore community. I don't know. I'm a part of the hunting community. So there's all these different communities that people were a part of. And I said, pick your top three, like pick storytelling plus two more. And then or just one, but then your storytelling business becomes the place where those two things overlap. Think of my business, marketing for hippies, right? It's the business and marketing world plus the hippie world together somehow. So how did this happen? How did I get a whole career out of this? But look at that. I've been doing this 25 years. I mean, I got into marketing and sales in 1994, ran my first workshop in 2001, but kind of since then, that's all I'm doing, combining these two worlds. So that's an interesting way you can get a niche. And as a storyteller, I'd recommend it because there may be types of stories, stories from a certain country that you specialize in. You know, of course, that's how a lot of storytellers specialize. I do Algerian stories, I do Scottish stories, and they specialize in their own ancestral background. But it could also be stories on a topic, stories on grief, stories on dark times, stories on community, stories on conflict resolution. The question is this, Nick: what do you want to be known for? If those colleagues of yours were going to send business to you, what would you want that business to be? What kind of gigs do you want them to send you? And then when you sit down with them, you can ask them the same questions. You could take them through the same exercise. And what starts to happen is then instead of fighting over the same pie, we get this diverse, resilient ecosystem of storytellers who are thrilled to support each other because you do gigs and things I don't do. You've got a specialization in this area of storytelling that I don't have. And then there's collaborations that can happen. Then you can start to partner and work together. So I don't know if I got the right idea from your question. So forgive me if I didn't, but thank you for your question and your kind words. Okay.